China has dismissed concerns that the US may boycott next year's Winter Olympics in Beijing. The Foreign Ministry says that politicizing sports runs counter to the Olympic spirit. There have been mixed messages on the issue from Washington. The White House had indicated that it was considering a joint boycott with allies as a protest against Beijing's human rights abuses. A State Department spokesman then confirmed discussions were underway. But later, that was denied by a senior State Department official. Simon Marks joins us live now from Washington, D.C. Simon, mixed signals indeed. What's going on?
Very unclear, Dawn. I mean, certainly this set off a real scramble at the State Department yesterday afternoon after the daily press briefing in which spokesman Ned Price on two separate occasions addressed these reports that the United States was considering rallying allies to launch a boycott of the 2022 Winter Games in Beijing. And by the time the briefing had ended, his position on the issue was it's on the agenda now and going forward. Those were his words, and he suggested that the conversations were taking place with allies. After that briefing, reporters continued to press the State Department for clarification as to precisely what the nature of those conversations was. And by the end of the afternoon here, a senior State Department official briefing reporters on background said, "We have not discussed and are not discussing any joint boycott." Now, if you look at the tenses there, that official said they haven't done it so far. It's not in the past. They're not doing it right now in the present. He notably did not say there's no plan to have that conversation in the future. But it's very difficult to square that statement with what the spokesman said at the podium earlier in the day, that the issue of a boycott was on the agenda now and going forward. So unclear if this was the United States flying a kite and looking for some kind of international reaction, or if this was a bit of clumsiness at the State Department that diplomats then had to clean up.
Well, Simon, a boycott, if it were to happen, that would affect US athletes. They've been spending years preparing for the Games. What are the chances that Washington will actually go ahead with the plan?
Well, it would affect US athletes if the boycott meant that the United States withdrew its team from the Winter Olympics. But there are multiple levels at which the United States and any other country could choose to boycott the Games. And that could include simply saying, right, we'll send no official government representation as guests to the Games to honour the Games that are underway in Beijing in the middle of 2022. It doesn't have to mean that the United States or any allied nation would pull their teams from competing in the Games. I mean, I think what the last 24 hours has done is served as providing notice to the Chinese that at least in the background, this conversation has been taking place. If you're an athlete out there, it must be quite unnerving, but that term boycott is a pretty broad one and doesn't necessarily mean that athletes wouldn't get their day in the winter sun.